Hi, everyone. Welcome to Breakthrough. And Breakthrough is where we interview and we talk to the Malaysia Leadership Summit speakers. Hi, I'm Roshan Thiran, and joining me today will be Frank Furness. Frank, welcome to our show, and so glad to have you. I know you're over in the UK, right, Frank?
I am, Roshan, and it's great to be on the show. Really excited, and all of the listeners out there, we've got lots and lots of stuff for you today. So, Roshan, once again, thanks for organizing all this.
Absolutely, and I see Sarah's on board, and a couple of people are saying hi. It's hi Frank. I mean, a whole bunch of people. Hey, welcome everyone. And what we're going to talk today is really about the Malaysia Leadership Summit, and the Leadership Summit essentially is a very special summit where 100% of the proceeds, almost 100% of the proceeds, net 100, are all given to different charities in Malaysia. And it's an outstanding summit because we've got speakers from all over the world who fly into Malaysia. Frank's one of them, so we're going to talk to Frank in a little bit. But we had Jean Marie last week. We had Justin Cohen from South Africa with Scott Friedman. He claims to be a comedian, funny little guy, but and he's coming from that land far away called the United States. And we've got a whole bunch of others. Jerome, who's an expert in branding, that's coming out. So really super glad that, and I see more and more people joining in. Sudeshna, hi. And also FIFA, hi to all of you, and continue coming in. And if you have any questions for Frank or for me, I want to ask about the summit, feel free to just post your questions online and we'll talk about it in a bit. So Frank, tell us a bit, the Malaysia Leadership Summit's coming up, and you're flying to Malaysia. I assume you've been to Malaysia before?
Many, many times,
Right.
probably 12 to 15 times. KL is probably one of my favorite cities, and I've been all over. JB, I love the place. I can't wait to get back there, the people, the food, and of course, my favorite hotel, Shangri-La. Maybe I shouldn't be saying
Oh.
that.
Hopefully you're staying there and not at a competitor. But Frank, tell us a bit about, you're coming to Malaysia to speak at the Malaysia Leadership Summit. Tell us a bit about what you will be speaking at the summit.
So, Roshan, I've always been a sales speaker, and the world of sales has changed so much after we've had COVID, and now with all of the chat GPT and AI. And what I want to do is speak to leaders on how we've got to be different, and how we've got to accept AI, chat GPT, all of the new things that are coming in. Because if we don't, we're going to lose out. Our competitors are going to be coming in. So it's going to be all about some of the tools. They're going to walk away with a ton of stuff. I'm like a fire hose. I just give them tons and tons of stuff. And I'll be sharing some of that today as well. So it's really how we got to think differently and change to the new world of sales and business, really.
And how are some ways, I mean, you talked about ChatGPT and sales. I mean, how does one utilize ChatGPT in sales?
Okay, so let me give you some examples, some stories over here of clients I'm working with. One of the
Sure.
clients I'm working with in Miami has a real estate agency, and he wasn't doing too well. So I said, well, let's go on to ChatGPT and let's find out who's likely to buy property in Miami. And it came up with sunbirds from Canada or people from New York. Then went on and said, what kind of people in New York have got the money to invest? And it said, well, a lot of the investment and banking brokers. Then went on to LinkedIn, because LinkedIn is another huge part of what I speak about. And we found there's 9,000 of them. We then went back and used an app called Designer and ChatGPT and a few other apps. We created a book. We then started throwing in pictures, and we now started connecting and promoting with all of these people, and sales are just exploding. So those are the kinds of ways we can do things.
Absolutely interesting, and for people out there who are somewhat not in sales, there's still many things that can be leveraged from ChatGPT and some of this new technology too, right?
Oh, yeah. Well, for HR, for everybody, there's so many things. I mean, one of the tools that I love is called Otter. So if you want to get productivity in your company, Otter is, you just have it
Yeah.
switched on. You can be having conversations with anyone. It'll take all of the notes. There's other things like Fathom. If you're doing any Zoom calls or anything like that, it'll record it. It'll put in all of the notes there. If you're in, let's say, marketing, and in the old days, you want to go and get a new logo, it's going to cost you an absolute fortune. Nowadays, you get a little app called Looka, Looka. And I tell you what, it creates the most amazing thing for you. Even Canva. I don't know if anyone's been using Canva.
Yep.
So for HR, for everybody in the company, Canva has now pulled in AI as well. And there are just so many things happening with that. But also for companies as well, LinkedIn, LinkedIn is fantastic for branding, for connecting with
Mm.
people. And with LinkedIn, I speak about the 7 essential elements that you've got to have. And if you don't have that, how you're losing out massively.
And I think one of the interesting things is there's adopters who adopt these new technologies, leverage and thrive, and the others are just waiting and thinking they're fads and it's kind of that's one of the flavor of the day kind of thing. But as this world sort of transitions to this new space and this new with generative AI and everything, and transitioning to that space, I mean, why is it important? I mean, to be part of this change and not be ultimately someone who receives the change as it's thrust on to put upon us.
Well, you've got to be an early adopter, because I think everything with you, you either learn or you dry out. So you've got to accept. And a lot of people are saying, oh, it's going to do a lot of people out of jobs. I rather see the positives. For me, it's like having 2 extra personal assistants that's helping me. I mean, just simple things that any company can do. If you go in, just take your email, pop it into ChatGPT and give it a few good prompts, say rewrite it in a warm and friendly way with a call to action or whatever it's going to be. What comes out is amazing. Just a couple of weeks ago, I had 6 sales proposals, and I'm a sales guy. My brain works before anything else, and I've always got to double check I'm writing the right kind of things. So I did these emails, dropped it in there, said write it in a warm, friendly way, engaging with a call to action. What came out there was like, if I'd hired the best copywriter in the world, I wouldn't have been able to get things as good as this. Sent it out, I got 6 sales. I've never had that before. So these are the kinds of why we've got to accept it and start using it in our business. Another little quick story, Roshan. I do a lot of talks to leaders around the world, and I was speaking to a group of leaders in Fort Lauderdale, and one guy was giving me the hardest time ever. He was old school. He just didn't want to accept any of this new stuff. LinkedIn's not going to work for me, ChatGPT. And then someone else in the group said to him, it's not about you. It's about your customers. Do you think your customers are not using LinkedIn? They're not using all of these tools that are out there? And he kept quiet. At the end of it, he came and he said, I want to hire you for a day just to open my mind, because I've always been so close to this. He's become one of my greatest friends. He's a multi-millionaire. And his big thing now is writing a book on why we have to think differently. Leaders, HR, people have to think differently and do things in a different way.
Wow, that's amazing. And I want to just make a quick call out now for the Malaysia Leadership Summit. So the Malaysia Leadership Summit is happening on June the 20th. In Kuala Lumpur at the Setia Convention Center. We want to thank our partner SP Setia, who's given us the venue, and also another strategic partner, Maybank, who's enabling us to make this whole thing happen. But what's interesting is 500-600 people are going to congregate together, leaders. And we have 12 fantastic speakers. Frank is one of them. But we, like I mentioned before, we had 11 other prominent global thought leaders that are going to come in. But what's for me, the most powerful thing is that 100% of everything that's collected, the tickets that you buy, 100% is going to go back to various charities. And I want to just share a little bit on the forum that we had, or the summit that we had last year. So let's just watch this very quickly, a highlight reel of what happened in 2022 at the Malaysia Leadership Summit.
start of the session itself is way different from other conferences. You start with juggling, but then when it comes to the flow of the event itself, we'll start with, I think, a lighter topic and subsequently into business topics like how do you pitch sales.
Alright, so far, I'm really glad that MLS provided us with a lot of networking sessions where we could talk to both different participants as well as speakers.
Language can cause a lot of harm if not used correctly, but if used correctly, I believe it can create team building, teamwork and so on.
When you put clarity as a lens to everything that is going on, I think it really makes a big difference.
Feel that energy, you feel how you can change things in organizations, in the world, and just with a simple mindset shift. It's just wow.
So we had a super summit in 2022, more than 500 over people out there, all business leaders, all amazing leaders. It was an awesome time of networking. I think I met so many new people. I think that's one of the benefits of people coming together after so many years of being in lockdown, right, Frank?
Absolutely.
And I'm looking forward to that today. As special call out to a couple of people who's joined us. I think Alberto from Spain. Hi, welcome to the show. And we've got Proloy also welcome. And I think Sarah is pretty excited. It's good. It's so good that it's for a charitable cause. Absolutely. I think that's one of the power of the Malaysia Leadership Summit. It's everything goes to a great cause. But you get the ticket price, which is I think really decent, but on top of that, that everything actually goes to such a great cause. Frank, tell us a bit about where what are some of the deeper insights that you think you'll be sharing in the summit that people can take back and apply back in the workplace.
Well, one of the big things is you've got to start using LinkedIn in the proper way. As I say, there's 7 things you've got to do. In fact, anybody who's watching now, just take out your telephones and type into Google sales technology speaker. And I guarantee you, I own the first page everywhere in the world. And I've done it for the past 10 years. I'm going to show people how they can own the first page of Google. And one of the big things there is just by optimizing your LinkedIn profile. LinkedIn was taken over by Microsoft a couple of years ago. It's the 3rd biggest search engine. The second, of course, is YouTube. I've got a YouTube channel with 1,000 videos. That gets me up there. So companies are spending absolute fortunes on branding, doing all kinds of stuff when there's simple. I love low cost, no cost. So I'm going to be sharing lots of low cost, no cost ways of doing things. And also on LinkedIn, there's 5 different types of posts you've got to do. So one of the things I'm going to be sharing there is when is the right time to post? How do you understand the algorithms? How do you get seen? So I have some posts that go up, get 50,000, 200,000, but you've got to have a strategy. If you're in business and you're using LinkedIn, there's got to be an end benefit for you. So I show everybody how we go through why there is that strategy, but then how it forms part of a bigger circle. So what I show companies is first look at what your strategy is at the moment. What are you doing in sales and marketing and business? Then optimizing all of your channels. Like Roshan, I've gone to some companies and they've got 500 videos. They've spent hundreds of thousands, and purely because they haven't got the keywords right, they're not being seen and there's like no interaction. And the same thing on LinkedIn, not getting the hashtags right. So it's simple little fixes that every company can be putting in. And then the other thing is getting a lead magnet. Like what I say to every CEO is write a book. And they also, I haven't got time to write a book. I don't know how to write a book. Well, now we've got ChatGPT, we've got Designer that will do it for you. You've got other apps like Quillbot that'll fix it, do all kinds of stuff. And what you now have is authority. You're not only the CEO, but you're an authority. So another company I'm working with in Miami, they do ERP and SaaS and that kind of thing. We wrote a 100-page book for him, put it onto his website, put it onto Amazon. He's selling tons of it on Amazon at the moment. He can't believe it. But the big thing is it's driving huge amounts of traffic to his website. He's now seen as a leading authority because he's got a book, and business is just exploding. So these are some of the things that I'm going to be sharing at the conference.
I'm really looking forward to hearing it. And I see a couple of guys, Eric Gomez says that very insightful, never heard of some of these AI tools. And I definitely need to hear his keynote. Very exciting and inspiring stuff. I can vouch. I'm pretty sure it's going to be super awesome. Frank, if you were to give one piece of advice to business leaders, based on this whole new world, this changing space, everyone's looking to up their sales. Everyone's looking to find new ways to replace lost sales, or mix that has changed because of what the pandemic has done in terms and disrupted, various chains and so on. What sort of advice would you give to business leaders?
Well, the first thing is you've got to find out what it is that makes you unique. And then we've got to get that message out everywhere. The second thing is we have to think differently. So many times I speak with the business leaders. I say, first thing, you've got to accept that the world is changing. So you've got to think, you've got to act differently. If you're doing business the same way you did it 5 years ago, your competitors are going to overtake you because people are getting in and they're doing things. And the other thing is, take all of this stuff, and I work with a lot of companies. So if there are any companies that want to use me as well, Roshan, I'm coming out to KL early.
Yep.
And
you are? Okay.
Yes.
And when are you coming out? When are you coming out to KL, Frank? So that we can send the word out.
I think I'm going to be out. I think it's on the 12th or 13th already.
Oh, fantastic. Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I'm going to be out there early, and I work with a lot of businesses, and what I do is say, this is the changes you've got to make, and actually sit with the teams and make the changes. Otherwise, so many people say, that sounds fantastic, and they leave and they don't do anything. And then a year later, their competition is doing it. So I'll say, okay, let's get in, let's do it, let's dive deep, make it happen. I'm working with a recruitment company at the moment. We've done 5 90-minute sessions, and it's just been on Zoom because they're in Jacksonville. But the changes are phenomenal. His team are now just absolutely flying. And the younger people, older guys like me are like, oh, what's this ChatGPT? What's AI? The younger people love it. They lap it up. They accept it. So as a leader, give all of these tools to all of the people working for you. You're going to see a massive difference in your business.
Yep. So, just another call out. Frank is going to be in KL from 13 onwards. So if you want to leverage him, reach out to us and we'll find a way to connect you guys and make that happen, right? So, Frank, absolutely riveting listening to some of the advice that you're giving. Now, for those who want to get tickets, you can, it's 100% HRDF claimable also, which means if you're a Malaysian company, it's practically free, right? So send an email to info@leronomics.com. And we'll walk you through the process for how to sort of get a ticket if you need it HRDF claimable. If it's not, you can go to jalanbusiness.org and be able to purchase the ticket over there. I'll put that link out in a little bit. Frank, just to wrap up our section and close that out. I guess one of the things for people. So you talk about senior leaders, but one of the frustrations is for middle managers in organizations where they're sort of the guys in between. The guys at the top says drive change. Somewhere their bosses below may say, no, keep things. We like stability. We like things the way they were. Underneath, people are saying, hey, we want this is how we want to change. We want to use Discord. We want to communication is to change this and that. And they're kind of stuck in the middle, balancing the need to keep status quo, which is potentially what some of their bosses may be requesting versus all the new things that are coming in and being pushed through from the bottom up. How does one navigate that sort of that in between world that many middle managers find themselves in?
Yeah, because most of them are saying, what's in it for me? Why should I make these changes? And a lot of the times the leaders will be going to summits, they'll be doing things, they say, we've got to do all of this stuff. Just tell the middle managers. And they're like, we don't know anything about it. So it's really educating them and running sessions for them on how it's going to help them, how it's going to help the company. Otherwise, they're just getting orders from the top and they're saying, wow, I'm already so busy. I don't have time to do all of this new stuff here. But if you work with them, like I go in and I work with a lot of those middle managers and show them how it's going to help them, how it's going to help their teams, when they understand that, because they've not been given the right message, all they've been done is, this is what you got to do, make the changes. And they're like, why? So if you show them why, go in and give them all of the benefits, what's in it for them, what's in their teams, you'll see huge changes.
Fantastic. I love that. So for those who want to, sign up for the Malaysia Leadership Summit, 680 ringgit at glsbusiness.org/MLS23, or just go to glsbusiness.org. You should be able to find it and click in, and you can sign up there. Remember, every single thing, every single dollar or ringgit that is paid there is donated to different charities. And one of the charities that we've supported with more than 70,000 ringgit last year in 2023 is a charity called the Malaysia MSRI, which is a refugee school. So MSRI, or sometimes called Sahabat School, and almost, I think, 60,000+ ringgit last year. They were one of the biggest recipients. There are many others. I think there were almost 90 schools that received funding from the funds that came from the Malaysia Leadership Summit 2023. So again, we're looking forward to give away more funds to more different schools, and be able to support as many different charities. We have one question from Alberto. Let me just pull it up to Frank. The fact of having posts or even books written by bots, does it affect the perception of its quality? Maybe some kind of cheating the reader? Seems to me that the generative AI works as ghostwriters. Your thoughts, Frank?
Okay, yeah, so a great question, that, because otherwise all we're going to be doing is having machine stuff going out there. So I always say to people, help it for your research, help it to write, but then you've got to take it and you've got to adapt it to your own style, add in all of your own stories, add in all of your, and make it all about you. All you're using all of that generative stuff for is for research purposes. All it's doing is saving you time. If you had to go in and research all of that stuff, it's going to take you 3-4 weeks and you're just not going to do it. You can get it in seconds now. And now, once you've got it, now you start adding in your personality, your stories, everything else that makes it your own. Again, great question, because what we don't want is a world full of just bot stuff going out on LinkedIn posts and articles and that kind of stuff. So we've got to make it our own.
Fantastic. And we were just going to share one other highlight. The MSRI was one of the recipients. Another recipient was the Mad Movement and the clubs. And they wanted to say thank you for the funds they received last year. So here's a little video from them saying thank you for the funds.
Thank you, Malaysia Leadership Summit, for your generous support. Because of your support, you have empowered us to effectively to be able to empower many students all across Malaysia to learn leadership. And we do this in 4 ways. The first way is through clubs. It is in clubs that we empower them with value-based, character-based leadership, giving them a chance to put into practice everything they have learned about the character based on the values that we have instilled in them.
The second way is through courses. Because of your support, we are able to design, customize, and sponsor students to be involved in the preparation for higher education.
The third way is through camps. Your support has empowered us to organize holiday camps to instill confidence in the students and enhance their leadership abilities.
And the fourth way is through the LEAD convention. We are able to get the students across Malaysia to participate in their presentation of their Making a Difference project.
All right, there you have it. So, MSRI and also the MAT movement and many others benefited. So if you have not signed up, I highly encourage you to quickly sign up for the Malaysia Leadership Summit, and you can do that at the website, or you can send an email if you want to claim from HRD Corp. You can send an email to us at info@leeromeos.com. Frank, it's been absolutely riveting talking to you today. Pleasure. I'm looking forward to meeting you in person and interacting with you and gaining huge insights on technology, on sales, and how the blending and the amalgamation of both leads to even greater success. So thanks, Frank. Your final piece of advice. We wrap this up today.
My final piece of advice is really a thank you to you for everything that you're doing. You're making a huge difference. I know the amount of time, the amount of energy you're putting in, the kinds of things you're giving. So I think for everybody out there watching, let's all show our appreciation for Roshan. And I'm really looking forward to seeing you and meeting everybody at the conferences.
Absolutely. And we're going to bow out by our favorite song, the Mad song, the Making a Difference song. See you guys.
I'm mad for good. I'm mad for good. I'm making a difference. I'm mad for good. I'm mad.